Or Tzigazint.
Gesund.
How do you say it?
Gesund. Okay, we're going on Facebook now. Okay, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Good to Gesund, to line 11, so whatever. Let's learn a little bit. We are starting this a beautiful sikha of the Rebbe, where the Rebbe explains. Is it warm here or am I warm here?
Don't make it cold.
Don't make it cold.
Don't make it cold.
Okay.
What page are we on?
We're going to go to this Parshas Vayeshev. The portion of Vayeshev we're holding on page. Page 116 in his book. 116. So as last week we spoke about how the Rebbe sometimes explains a beautiful Rashi, and even though Rashi says I come to teach the simple meaning of the pasuk, nevertheless, Rashi has the Yenu Shel Torah, as expression, has the wine of Torah, has the Rashi also has the deeper meaning in what the Torah wants to tell us, and therefore you need to go deeper into Rashi. You have to explain Rashi. You have to understand every word of Rashi. That every word comes to teach us something even more than just the simple meaning that Rashi says, I come to teach a 5-year-old child. So this is the Sikha here, that the Rebbe explains this beautiful Rashi that we have in this week's Parsha, in the beginning of the Parsha, which it really explains, the Rebbe says, really explains the whole meaning of the story that we are in middle. We're in the middle of the story of the patriarchs and the matriarchs, especially today, this week in Parsha Vayeshev, the story of Yaakov and his children. And what does the story mean to us? It's not the Torah is not a book of stories. The Torah is a book of life. It's supposed to give us a meaning in life. So what is the meaning of the story? So if you go to the Parsha, we start on page 1, to text 1a. This is the beginning of the Parsha, why it's called Parsha Vayeshev. Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz v'guri arvim be'eretz Canaan. And Yaakov lived, sojourned in the land of his father, the land of Canaan. Rashi says right away, that this comes right after last week's Parsha. Remember last week's Parsha, the last 2 readings of last week's Parsha, a lot of it deals with the story of Esav and all his kings that he had, all his family, all the history of Esav, the whole entire history of Esav. And then we come back to Yaakov. So if you remember last week, it talks about Yaakov also, and his Vayishtar Yaakov, his struggle with Esav. The Torah ends off last week with all the history of Esav, his whole family, and the whole Ganze Maisa. And really the question is, why do you need to have the whole story? Right? If you go text number 2, text number 1b, Eila tell us Esav. Esav, it goes to who Esav married, and all his wives, and all his children, and their children. And then the Torah tells us about the 8 kings that Esav had in the land of Canaan. In Seir, tells us this whole history. What is important to tell us this whole history? What is important? Right? What is the need? Come in. What is the need to tell us this Ganze Maisa? So Rashi's bothered with it. We all are bothered. Well, what's the point? Who cares about Esav? Why give off so much pages to Esav? So Rashi says, the first Rashi in the Parsha, text number 2, page 117. These are the words of Rashi. After the Torah describes the settlement and his generations, briefly, even though it's like a good 20-30 psukim, but it's briefly because they are not distinguished or important enough to elaborate in detail. How they settled, in order the order of their wars, or how they drove out the Hittites. In contrast, so now the Torah condenses the history of Yaakov, history of Esav, which is 8 kings. We're talking about a long history of Esav. And then the Torah scripture elaborates the settlement of and then Yaakov comes back to Vayeshev, Yaakov. Now we're going to have the whole story of Yaakov and his son Yosef and how he gets down to Egypt. the ganze Maisa, right? The whole story. Scripture elaborates settlement taken in generation, all the events that causes their travel, since they were considered important enough to God to dwell upon it at length. And Rashi continues and says, we find this in the Torah in the past. Similarly, we find regarding to 10 generations between Adam and Noah. The Torah goes 10 generations between Adam and Noah, which is close to 1,500 years. We know Noah is 1,500 years in history from the creation of the world. So the Torah knocks through in one portion. And the portion of Bereshit, 1,500 years, 10 generations. So and then it says, Adam had Adam had Cain and Heva, but and then they had Chase, and now boom, 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 who had who? Then we come to Noach. When we scripture reach Noach, the Torah talks again at length, the story of Noach, the whole portion, right? And then we go to Noach. Then from Noach to Avram Avinu, also the same thing. 10 generations. The Torah knocks through in one portion. Noach, we have 10 generations, right? Noach was born in 1500. Abraham was born in 1948 of creation. So also not 1500 years, but close to 500 years. Boom, God knocks it through, and now we come to Avram Avinu, the third portion, Lech Lecha. So now we come to Yaakov, to Avram Avinu.
I'm sorry, who was born in
1948. Abraham. Not 1948. 1948 creation. No, not BC. It does not be for creation. There's no BC here. This is creation. Creation. Right now we're holding 5,785 of creation. So the Torah continues and knocks it up. But then Rashi adds, we're holding on page 117. So then Rashi adds, you have a book? I'm sorry. Oh, take a book. Shalom Aleichem. Please, if you don't want to buy the book, leave the book here. So we'll have it next week. So the Torah Rashi adds another paragraph to his interpretation. And Rashi says as follows. This is analogous to a pearl that falls into the sand. You have a situation where a pearl falls into the sand. A person searches in the sand and sifts it with a sieve until he finds the pearl. And then when he finds the pearl, he casts the pebbles from his hands and keeps the pearl. So that's what Rashi says. So that's how Rashi ends off his interpretation. Rashi has to give us we wouldn't understand what it means without this analogy, right? We needed this analogy that Yaakov is the pearl, Esav is the sand, and Yaakov, the Torah, so to say, needs to sift through the sand to get to the pearl. But once you get to the pearl, who cares about the sand? Right? Throw away the sand, put it in a pile, take the pearl. That's what you were looking for. So this is the same analogy. The Torah last week was pushing through the sand, so to say, was moving through the sand of Esav, and he found the pearl. Hayeshav Yaakov. He found the pearl, and that's very nice, beautiful Rashi, right? But really, the question still stays: why do we need to say? Why does the Torah need to talk about the sand? So much about the sand. What is I don't understand. What does the sand accentuate the pearl so much? And the question is even more, the question is even deeper. Because we find that the Torah doesn't talk about Esav's past, his descendants of the past, but actually the Torah talks about the past and the future descendants of Esav. The Torah talks about all the descendants until Shaul HaMelech, right, to kill King Saul. So in this week's Parsha, God prophesies all the kings of Esav until the first king of the Jewish nation, which was King Saul. Right? King Saul was the first king of the Jewish nation.
He was a descendant of Jacob.
Right. The first king of the Jewish people, which was a descendant of Jacob. So the Torah says, if you look at text number 3a, on page number 118. Over there, you see, Torah tells us all the kings of Esav. Right? And he says it openly in the verse. And these are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned of the children of Israel. Torah starts off all the kings that were kings of Edom before the first king of the Jewish people reigned. How you know? We're talking here about from Jacob, even Jacob coming down to Egypt, let's say, the Jewish people were 210 years in Egypt. Then when they were 40 years in the desert, so that's 250 years already. And then there was, before Saul came king, there was a whole history of the prophets and the judges. We're talking about another 400 years. So we're talking about 600 years of history in this paragraph, verse 31 to 39. Why is it important to tell us all the kings of Esav till the first king of Israel, Saul, who was, again, you can look it up, but it became a king hundreds of years after the Jewish people came into the land of Israel. And here we're talking about Jacob, who was still in before even the Jews went down to Egypt. Why is it important? What is important to Yaakov to tell us this whole history? Why would that be important to tell us? So you look in text number 3b, Rashi says, and these are the kings, these are the 8 kings. And Jacob raised an equal number in whose days are the kingdom of Esav temporarily ceased to exist. Namely, again, who were the 8 kings? Saul was the first king. Ishbosheth was an intermediate king in between Saul and David. David, Solomon, Rehoboam, Aviah, Asa, Yehoshaphat, etc. So we have until Saul came around, Esav was still in power. That's the prophecy that God told Rebekah, that as long as Yaakov will not have a power, you'll have power. The second Yaakov will become powerful in Eretz Yisrael, you're going to lose your power. You're going to be diminished. And that's what happened. But that happened hundreds of years later. So why would it be important? Why would this be important to tell us how there were kings not only in the past? I can understand you can say, oh, Esav in the past. The Torah will talk about Esav in the past, and we're getting rid of Esav in the past, right? His what he had in the not in the present when Yaakov was around. I'm talking about. So in the present, when Yaakov's around, he had to go through Esav, and then he came to Yaakov. But we're not talking about the present. The Torah is not talking about the present. The Torah is talking about the future, right? The Torah is talking about the future. So the question is, what is important to Yaakov, the future? What is important to tell Yaakov this week's Parsha about the 8 kings? That's what actually Yaakov got frightened after he heard about these 8 kings, powerful entities that are going to be in the land before he comes around, so to say, to become ruler, to rule in the land. It's a frightening. This is a frightening Parsha. This is a frightening thing. What?
So we won't be depressed waiting for Mashiach.
Okay, sounds good. Maybe that's the answer, but the Rebbe has a deeper answer. And the Rebbe answers as follows. The Rebbe says that it's not Yaakov, the story of Yaakov self-understood, and that's the Hira to us. The story of Yaakov didn't end by Yaakov, right? The story of Jacob, and that's why we read the Parsha every week, and we have read it for whatever, we have our whole life and for thousands of years, because the story of Yaakov is our story, is not completed, hasn't ended. So the story of Yaakov, his own story continues. Not that we continue the story of Yaakov because we're still part of this story. And how do we know we're still part of this story? The story of Yaakov, which started off in the last week's Parsha, when he meets Esav, really, And what he goes through in this week's Parsha itself, how do we know that the story does not end? Because Yaakov Avinu says it himself. Jacob says it himself. Says to Esav that our story is going to continue. Our story is just beginning now. Actually, it didn't begin now. It began a couple of weeks before. But our story will continue until a certain time. Our story will continue until a certain time. Until what? Which time? So that's what you have in text number 4a, page 120. Yaakov Avinu tells Esav, my dear brother, right? Esav wants to he comes, he hugs him, he kisses him, and they're in love. And he says, let's go together. And Jacob says no. And he says the following statement, right? In text number 4a, which is in Genesis chapter 33, verse 14. Let my Lord go ahead of our servant while I travel slowly at the pace of the cattle before me and at the pace of my children until I come to my Lord in Seir. Right? Until I come to Seir, I'll come one day to you. I will come one day to you.
Take over.
All right, you say I'm taking over. He just said, I'm coming one day. You're asking me to be that we should become friends. We'll come one day, friends. It's gonna happen. I'll make it towards you. I'll get there. And Rashi on the Parsha right away says, what does that mean? What is the meaning of that? So in text 4b, Rashi says, until I come to my Lord to say, he mentioned a much longer journey. Yaakov says, this is going to be a long journey. It's not going to be it's not going to only be physically Yaakov's journey. This is going to be a long Jewish journey. Thousands of years maybe, which it is already. Thousands of years, this journey. So this is going to be a long journey. He mentioned a much longer journey. Yaakov is not talking about himself. He's talking about the Jewish nation. That's what Yaakov is talking. For he really intended to only to go as far as Sukkot. Yaakov had no intention to go to Esav at that time. He had no intention, and we know that for a fact because he didn't go. So Yaakov, he didn't lie, but I was like, I'll meet you in a week. He didn't say that. He said, I'll meet you when I get there. He was not talking about himself because he knew he would not make it there. He would never see his brother again. He never saw his brother again. I never saw the next time he met him was when he was being buried, and then somebody killed him. So he never met him again. Yeah.
Do you think Esav knew that he wasn't coming?
I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. But Yaakov surely knew he wasn't coming.
Because it sounds, when you read it just straight, it sounds like
But he's not telling you like, because he's not talking. You got to look at so Rashi himself says that Yaakov is not talking about himself. He's not talking about himself. He's talking about what the story. The story will continue.
Who killed who?
His descendant.
One descendant killed Esav. One of the grandsons of Yaakov killed Esav.
But doesn't it sounds, of course, like it is does. That's why I'm asking. Is Esav no? Because it has that.
No, I believe Esav. I believe Esav totally knew because Esav didn't change his ways. Esav didn't become the tzaddik which he needed to become. So Esav never repented, right? So Esav knew that this is not going to happen. Was also one of the stories of Yaakov and Dinah. Yaakov should have let Dinah marry Esav, but he didn't want that. He didn't want that to happen. So Yaakov didn't want to deal with Esav. We know that. Yaakov didn't want to deal with Esav. Whether it was right and wrong, that's a separate issue, and there's many commentators on it. But he didn't want to deal with the Esav. But he told the Esav, listen, we're going to get to you. The Jewish people will get to you one day. The Jewish people will be with you one day.
Dina was supposed to marry her uncle.
Yeah, but that's a whole different story. Okay, I don't want to derail the class. So that's a different story. Yeah, Dina was supposed to marry Esav. Right. Right.
Leah was supposed to marry.
Leah, and then Dina, and they were supposed to marry Esav, which would ultimately transform the Esav. Right? So Jacob says, if Esav means to do me harm, let him wait until I reach his abode at Seir. Therefore, he did not go to Seir. right? Because Yaakov knew that Esau didn't love him.
Yeah, let's get a look.
And why is he going to come to say it for? He's going to come to say it to have a war. He's going to come to say it to have a fight. Well, what do I need to have a fight for? Let him stay and say it. I'm going to Hebron. So I have nothing. I don't want anything to do with him. Right? Actually, the Torah says last week that Yaakov and Esau were in the proximity of one another, but Esau didn't want to live with there, and he moved away. That's last week's portion. So when will he go? When is he getting to say it? In the days of Mashiach. That's what it says. That's Yaakov Avinu is already prophesizing to Esau and telling him, not now, I'm not coming to you now, but my descendants in the year 5,778, no, 82, I'm sorry, 5,782, they're going to come to you, they're going to visit you. And this, as Avadia says, and the survivors shall go up to Mount Zion and judge the mount of Esau, and and the God will be the kingdom. And that's, so here Yaakov Avinu already Rashi says, and Rashi doesn't say this is any Kabbalistic concept. Rashi says this is a teaching to a 5-year-old child, right? That to a 5-year-old child, a person opens the Chumash, has to already see that Yaakov Avinu is not talking about himself. He knows he's not going there. He's not going to be there physically himself. Yaakov Avinu is talking about the Jewish nation. And the truth is, that's an important lesson to all of us, that when we talk about the story of Yaakov, it's not about Yaakov physically, the man only. Yaakov and the children and his offsprings and his children, it's all about the journey of Am Yisrael. That's the way you need to look at the pasuk, at the Torah, and actually emphasizes this openly in the parsha, in this week's parsha, to tell us, no, don't look at Yaakov as Yaakov. The truth is, don't look at Esav as Esav. Esav's not only. I'm not saying don't look at Esav. You have to look at Esav as Esav, but don't look at Esav as only the story of Esav, and don't look at Yaakov as the story of Yaakov. You have to look at Esav as the concept of Esav in the world, and you got to look at Yaakov as the concept of Yaakov in the world. And therefore, the story continues until Mashiach comes. The story continues. The story continues.
Can I ask a question, please?
You can ask whatever you want.
Okay. Good morning from Brooklyn, Leah Abraham.
From Brooklyn, all the way from Brooklyn. Okay, ask the question.
I just a quick question.
Yes.
Yaakov didn't want to deal with Esav, and because of that, we have to deal with him every day.
Correct. That's it. That's our job. Our job is to deal with the Esav, as you'll soon see. That's the truth. Yeah. Until we rectify the Esav, we need to deal with the Esav. 100%. 100%. How do we deal with the Esav? That's the job of the Yaakov. That's why I said before, Yaakov didn't want to question the rabbis, argue, should he have, shouldn't he have, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's always good to be a Monday morning quarterback. So to tell you if Yaakov did it right or wrong. So the question is, what do we learn from it? And what does the Torah want to tell us about the journey of Yaakov to Esau? So really, to understand this journey, and the Rebbe says, and the Chassidus teaches us, you really have to know who Esau is to understand Yaakov. And that's why the Torah puts Esau before Yaakov. And the Torah, Rashi himself emphasizes that the kingdom of Esau was before Yaakov. Right? There was 8 kings, and the Torah says it, that there was 8 kings before Yaakov came to be king. Why would that? That's a fighting situation to put 8 kings in front of Yaakov, and before Jacob even came to become kings in the land of Israel, there was the 8 kings of Esau. This to understand this answer, we first have to understand Esau. We really need to understand Esau. And maybe if we understand Esau, we'll understand what Yaakov is really about. What is the journey of Yaakov? What's the journey of Esau? So Chassidus explains this in a Kabbalistic way, and to those that have come to learn Chabad for many years, this should be something easy to comprehend or to hear, because we've learned this many times. And that is the teaching of Reb Chaim Vital. It's Chaim's Kabbalistic teaching. And that's in text number 5 on page 121. So Chassidus Kabbalah explains that everything that's here in this world has its counterpart in the upper worlds, right? There's nothing in this world that doesn't have its counterpart in its spiritual dimensions, right? The Gemara, Mishnah says that every blade of grass has an angel that says grow. Every blade of grass, can you imagine every blade of grass has an angel that gives it its growth. That's why, can you imagine, the Gemara says, how many angels are there in heaven? The Gemara says, we don't have a number, right? There's billion. Well, if every blade of grass needs to have an angel, so whatever. So you understand. So there's a spirit. It's a spiritual. There's a spiritual counterpart in heaven. Yaakov has a spiritual counterpart in heaven, and Esav has a spiritual counterpart in heaven. Right? We know the story. It says the story. It says that in Rashi also. Rashi, when Yaakov Avinu was struggling with an angel, he's struggling with the angel of Esav. Right? So he has a spiritual counterpart in him. Now that's interesting itself. You should know that when you say that it has a spiritual counterpart, what does that tell you? That tells you that everything, even evil, has something spiritual in it, something spiritual that gives it its life force, right? That gives it its so it alone shows you something interesting, that everything has its spiritual counterpart. Everything was created by God, right? So, what is the spiritual counterpart? So here's the way Reb Chaim Vital explains it. Let's read it. It's in text number 5. It says, God wished to create the world to benefit his creation, and so that they should recognize his greatness and merit to become instruments of heaven to cleave to him. In so doing, he emanates a single point that includes 10 indiscernible points, all contained in one container. I'm not going to go through every interpretation of this meaning, but let's go to, which is very deep. But this is what we call Olam HaTohu, a world of chaos. Olam HaTohu, a world of chaos. If you can imagine 10 people sitting in this room, and every person was different. Every person had a different, very strong character, extremely strong, powerful character. And they would be totally different, right? If we didn't have something that would control this group, this place, this room would burst in chaos, right? Because you have 10 people that have very strong characters, that are opposites of one another. And if you wouldn't have a force that would try to contain it, you would have a chaos. They'll be screaming at each other, they'll be killing each other. The marshal also is given by the, for example, a king. A king has ministers. Throughout history, these ministers were big baligaivas, right? They became big egotistical people that really hated one another. They want to take the power because to be a minister in the king, you had to be a certain character. You had to have a strong character, right? You had to be a certain character to be able to be a minister in the king. But how was it possible unity? The only possible unity was in front of the king, right? In front of the king, all ministers knew that their heads couldn't be chopped off. So basically, they're all irrelevant, right, by the king. But if there's none of if the king, so to say, hides himself or leaves the room, so to say, the minute there's chaos. It's a chaotic situation. What happened in Olam HaTohu? What happened in a chaotic situation? We have the breakage of the vessels. So you have Chesed competing Gevurah, we smashing together. We have chaotic situation, and you have the breakage of the vessels. It's in the first in Kabbalah. It's the first day of creation. The Eibishter created the world, and in the first day he created light. But it was the lights were too strong. So the light of Chesed was too strong, and the light of Gevurah was too strong, and they have a broken, and therefore the pasuk it says, and the world was chaotic, right? It was chaotic. It was a chaotic situation, and God hid the lights. That's why even Rashi says that God hid the lights. He hid it. God was l'tzadikim. What does that mean? There's many interpretations, even the simple Rashi, in the first Rashi of Chumash. What is the meaning that God hid these lights? In Kabbalah, the meaning is those are the tzutzas hakdusha, those are the sparks of light, which came down into the most darkest places of the world. That's here. Yeah, to the darkest places of the world. Because only these sparks of light that were so very high can come into the darkest places of the world. Because once it came in Olam HaTikun, once we started the world of rectification, then light can only fit a vessel. If the vessel is not made, once the world came into a rectified situation, started from the second day of creation, now light can only fit a vessel, its vessel. That's why the Alter Rebbe ends off the Tanya. He says, Kilchosa, a mitzvah needs to be done according to its law. The mitzvah is the light, the law is the vessel, and the mitzvah cannot be done. If it's not done, Kilchosa, the vessel is not complete. So if the vessel doesn't fit the light doesn't come down. Because the light needs a vessel. That's Olam HaTikun, the world of rectification. The light needs a vessel, and the vessel fits the light. And that's why it's important that you know the law. We learned in the Alter Rebbe, in Tanya, the last couple of days, couple of weeks. But the Alter Rebbe emphasized, whoever knows the law, it's not only to know the spirituality of Judaism, you need to know the law. Because spirituality of Judaism is light. It is light. But it cannot come down. You can have a lot of light, but there's no light. Because light needs a vessel.
Are you saying that's halacha?
That's halacha. The halacha is the vessel.
Right.
The halacha is the vessel. The vessel brings down the light. Because this vessel, this halacha, this law, has the capability to bring down this light. That's Olam HaTikun. That's why every halacha has a time, has a space, has a dimension. Even the most spiritual mitzvahs everything has its time, and everything has its space. Why? Because needs the kli, needs the vessel.
Can you say Olam
Tikkun,
in English?
the world of rectification. So it's a world of rectification. Means tikkun means the capability of rectification. What are we really trying to rectify? We're really trying to rectify Olam HaToyu. Through our avodah in this world. The vessel that why does the Torah why does this earth need a physical vessel? That's really what the question is. Why can this earth have a spiritual vessel? Right? Because machshava is also a vessel of this earth. My thought, my brain is a vessel for this earth. So by learning Torah, I refine my brain, my thought, to be a vessel for earth, for the light of God. But why does it dafka need a physical vessel? Most mitzvahs need a physical, but we need to take a cow and turn it into a pair of tefillin. Why do we need to do that? Why do we need to take a cow to make a pair of tefillin? Because we are trying actually to go lower. We're trying to create a vessel that is so mundane, like a cow, because in this cow, there's not only the capability of the light coming into a vessel, but in this cow, there's a spark of God that comes from the Olam HaToyu. There's a spark of godliness that comes from the world of chaos that only can come into the cow. So you only go right, because spirituality really would need to have spiritual vessels. Here, spirituality needs to have a physical vessel, a cow, right? So I'm talking about tefillin or mezuzah needs a cow, right? We need to have a physical entity. So that, how does the physical, why do we need a physical entity? Because in this physical entity, we have something that comes from even more than Olam HaTikun, because no spark of God from Olam HaTikun, from the world of rectification, come down in a physical thing. Because it's total opposite. Physicality is total opposite of spirituality. Only something that comes from a very high place, a place with this light, doesn't need to have, so to say, a vessel. It can go anywhere.
Right.
It can go even into something that's the opposite of it. That's the beauty of chaos. That's the beauty, right? Chabad is a chaotic place. That's the beauty. Yes, sure.
So usually, I heard a very interesting thing once at a gateway seminar about total global.
Yeah.
Which I won't say, but what's interesting to me here is that it's usually translated as chaos or emptiness.
Right.
Chaos, emptiness is the opposite of chaos. You can't
Right.
have something be empty and have it be chaotic.
Very good, very good, very good,
So
very good.
I've seen them both. I've never really seen
Right.
it together.
Well, empty because okay, very good. Very good. Because in Chassidus, or in this concept, when there's oil and keli, then there's no emptiness. When there's light and vessel, there's no emptiness. Because the light fits the vessel and the vessel fits the light.
Holds the light.
When there is chaos, so to say, then there is emptiness, because you cannot say what the light is. It's such a high light. You know, they say even in science, real light is darkness. Real light, right? In the black hole, there's such a powerful light that's dark. Right? So let me finish that thought. So you understand? So really the true real, that's why Chassidus says the true reality of Choshech is light. True reality of darkness is light. But the way we see it as dark. But in true reality, there's a light of God in it. There's a light. There's the real light. And really, the real light is in the darkness. Because that is a true concept of light, not the light that you can see, but the light that you cannot see is really, might be the true light.
Dark because it's so dense.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
correct.
sorry. I
No.
lost you in there.
Oh, yeah, don't worry, I'm lost too. Chaos. Yes. 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 So again, so you have two.
You're saying one sentence with just English. I get a little mixed up.
So again, so
English, please.
so again, I think chaos, because we're looking at chaos as a chaotic, people fighting with each other. I don't think that's the meaning of chaos. Chaos means there's no, you can't put it in a box.
Doesn't have a form.
Doesn't have it can't put it in a vessel.
Right.
When you can't put something in a vessel, that's called chaotic. Okay, because it's not in a category. You can't
Doesn't have
characterize
a
it.
form.
So right, that's one way of chaotic. But this is a different concept of chaotic. Chaotic over here, Chassidus over here means it's not capable of containment. That's the point. So the truth is something, but ultimately it is contained because it's a spark. So ultimately it is contained. Where is it contained? In something that's totally the opposite of it, which is a physical thing. Something that's totally the opposite of it.
Why is it, where's emptiness come in?
So again, emptiness is because you cannot see it, so it's empty. You cannot see it. It's so dark that it's empty. It's seemingly empty. It's darkness. So you don't see the oil. So it's empty. It's void. It's void. Seemingly void.
But
It's like what Chassidus explains Simpson. Simpson is void, seemingly. Void, right? So the question is it void totally? Simpson Kamshutai means it's totally void. The God made a void to create the world, or Simpson Shleikash. So Chassidus explains, according to Alter Rebbe, which just was a big argument, Alter Rebbe and the Gra Yitzchak Kislev. Yeah, the tzimtzum k'pshuta, tzimtzum shloi k'pshuta. Do you take the void as just take it as face value that was void, nothing, or it was nothing to us? It looked like nothing to us, but to the Abish, there's no thing as nothing. So to God, there's no void,
Right.
but to us, it looks like dark. That's void.
'Cause it's
So
full.
tzimtzum is void. Is it void? No. To us, to me, it looks like void, and that's why we call it tzimtzum.
So when the world was tohu vavohu, are you saying that the world was chaotic in the sense that there were no containers? for
Yeah.
Correct.
And when it was.
Actually, Siddur says chaotic is more lights and less containers. Tikkun is less light and more containers.
Right.
But what is the what is the vohu? The vohu is that we can't see it? I mean,
So darkness.
that it appears it's.
Appears dark, total dark,
So there's, so
Void.
there's-
total void.
So it's that we don't see the light because it's such bright light that it
Right.
appears dark and there's no containers for it yet? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Got it.
And when is the containers? Where's the containers ultimately?
The mitzvah.
Ultimately in the physical. So it says ultimately the containers are physical, but you don't even see it. You see it as a physical thing. So even as you see it as a physical thing, in this physical thing, the Eibishter put this light in. So only the Eibishter can connect to you to the physical. Only the Eibishter can connect. That's why the mitzvah is only because as I can show them with Tzivanu. Only God can say, my friend, take a cow and make it into a pitch film. Nobody else can do that.
What's the tikkun part, did you say?
Tikkun is a regular concept of
No, no, no.
vessels.
What did you say you called it? Tikkun, what?
Tikkun Olam, the rectification of the world.
So, and why is there gotta be a tikkun?
Because we have to find those sparks
Sparks.
and we have to rectify the physical. We have to ultimately rectify the physical. But there's two ways of tikkun, I'm saying. You have tikkun where you can oil fits a keli. And then you have tikkun of gashmis, tikkun of physicality, where the oil fits the keli, because the Abisha says that's where you rectify the vessel. That's the way you take the cow and you make it into a pit villain. Because in this physical cow, you're going to find actually a greater, deeper light that even light that the regular normal light and normal vessel cannot accomplish.
That's the mitzvah.
That's the physical mitzvah.
And we need the tikkun because of the broken vessels.
Correct. Okay, let's see. These containers broke on account of the great light that they contain, but could not bear. God notices, and he desired to repair all the world so they could tolerate this light. He did so by diffusing the light and distancing the light from the supernal self, so that the light would become more concealed. Again, not that the light changed. That's important. You see, that's the fallacy that people make. That basically they're able to change the light. Light cannot be changed. Light cannot be changed. It's not. It's only concerning the matter that light looks different. It's not concerning the light.
What's a
It's
matzah?
on the people from below.
Can you skip the Hebrew and the?
I can't. That's part of my DNA. So you cannot ask me to do something. I can explain it. I can try to translate, but I cannot skip the Hebrew.
A matzah-
So the matter, the underneath, you have Mila, the above, the way it's looked from above, and the way it's looked from below. You have your cheat sheet, matter underneath. So the way it's looked from below, it looks like a void thing.
a what?
It looks like something that's void. It looks like something that's dark. So it's a concept of concealment, of hiddenness and revelation. That's what Chassidus says, that tzimtzum is a concept of something that is hidden and something that's revealed. Something that is more revealed is a revelation of God, is something that's more hidden is a concealment of God. But not that God himself is not there,
Right,
God forbid. It's void, really. It's truly void.
right. There is no void.
There's no void
Right.
from God. God is connected to the world like he's above, like he's below. He's interconnected in the world. This is a very deep concept. So he did so by diffusing the light. Thus, the world would be sustainable and be able to tolerate the light.
Rabbi, can I-
Yes, sure.
and it's not like I'm challenging, but
You can challenge.
how, I've heard this particular thing is something that I've heard many times, and I struggle understanding it as a finite being. But like, person who God blessed you and you went to yeshiva your whole life, you understand this thoroughly?
No.
Yes.
I'm still learning, and we can still learn. Yeah, but not that's in this concept, or else we're never going to end this class. So yeah.
It just helps me understand it. I wanted to share it. Like, it's kind of like the periodic table of the elements, because everything is chaotic. All these little particles can just be chaotic, but you need the vessel to tell these particles to become like oxygen and carbon, and this way it can build a physical world.
The problem is that no. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about really. So now you're talking chaotic to me. So it's fine.
I thought I'd share that.
I'm good, but I don't see like just like you don't understand what I'm talking about. I don't understand what you're talking about. So basically, we both understand what we're talking about. So thank God we're both in the same situation. But I'll try to explain to you in the Torah thing, because I'm not a scientist, and but I'm sure if you know well science, Sabi, you can explain this in a more scientific way. But the truth is, you can't compare this to science, because on many facets you cannot compare this to science. Because we're talking about science is always dealing with matter, and ultimately over here we're dealing with God.
Right.
Okay, so boom, so it's totally different apple and oranges, because we're dealing with God, a total spiritual entity, and science cannot deal with God. They only can deal with matter, and how many matters can you put into. So ultimately, by science, you have a lot of matters put into another matter, and that's matter with matter. Over here, we have something that's total spiritual above matter, and we're trying to put it into something that is matter, which is totally opposite. And truth is, without God, you cannot do this. So without God, no science can put spiritual into the physical. Without God, it's not possible. It's impossible. And if anybody can think that they can take something that's physical and make it spiritual, they partially don't know what meaning is spiritual and physical, because it's not possible. And therefore, the only one who can do that is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to bring the spiritual and the physical together.
Well, of course.
And that's it. And that's it. There's no other way of doing it. It's impossible to do it. And thank God, God gave the Torah to the Jewish people, which gave a Jew the capability of accomplishing this concept, which is impossible scientifically. And it's impossible, really, in the realm of humanity to be able to bring spirituality and physicality together. It's impossible. There is some possibility, again, there is some possibility in certain levels of earth to bring a light existence in a physical matter. But is it possible to bring God as a human being? Is it possible for me to bring God into a spiritual entity? Scientifically, it's impossible. The only way is through the way of the Torah, which God says this is the way it's going to be done. Right, so God gave us the mitzvah. That's why God says, do not add, do not subtract in anything I gave you. Because it's impossible for you to add or subtract. I don't know if you understand the God's statement of not adding and subtracting. If you know what godliness is, you understand why you cannot add or subtract.
Rabbi Burkett?
Yeah.
Didn't the Alter Rebbe say that darkness is not an entity unto itself, but the absence of light?
Right. That's one level, Alter Rebbe says. And the Alter Rebbe says there are two levels in darkness, and that's the same thing over here. There are two levels of darkness, with darkness, the absence of light. And then there's a deeper level of darkness, where darkness is light. Is truly light. Is the truly light. And that's why that's why you need to look at any challenge in life. You can look at certain challenges. As the Rebbe is going to say soon now, the Rebbe is going to explain the same thing. You can look at challenge in life as a challenge that is just because there's no light there. or this challenge is going to be light, right? This challenge is what's going to make the light, right? Right. I'm saying one challenge is because there's lack of light. There's a lack of light. Bring light into your life, and the challenge will disappear because there's no entity to itself. And there's another challenge. Actually, that challenge is much deeper than this challenge, and that is that the negative is the light. You're not going to receive the light if you're not going to have the negative. And you're going to realize how the negative, how the challenge actually brought out the light. So you need the negative, right? That's a much higher level in light, in the concept of darkness. And that's where you need to, that's where ultimately is the two journeys, as we just said the whole sikha. That's the two journeys of what Yaakov needs to do in these two concepts. Is to bring light into the world. That's the light in the vessel. And then is where the vessel itself is the light. The vessel is not there for, the challenge is not there to bring out light. The challenge is the light. Right? And really when the challenge is the light, is where the true entity of change is. Right? Esav will become holy. Not that we're going to push away the Esav. Right? Esav will become holy. Now imagine Esav will become holy. That's truly amazing. That's really the ultimate. We have pushed off the Esav many times. We have overcome the Esav many times. But Esav never became holy. Darkness, so we pushed darkness a lot away throughout history with light and with goodness and with everything, with knowledge. But we never actually changed the Esav.
Wait, so darkness is analogous with Asa?
Yes. No, wow. So, well, you got it. Aha moment. So that's it. So look at the next. You got to look at very good. Look at the Alter Rebbe says in text number 6. It is known that Jacob is from the source of the world of Tikkun. So in essence, in this concept, Jacob is lower than Esav. In the spiritual realm, Jacob comes from the world of Tikkun, and Esav comes from the world of Toy. Tikkun in the spiritual sense is lower than Toy. Toy is much higher. Right, because Toy is a much deeper light. Tikkun is a much lower light. You're correct. That's right. That's correct. They deeper lights than Jacob. That's why we have to change the Esav. Why must we change the Esav? Because Esav is the ultimate purpose of Yaakov's purpose in this world. Is to change the Esav. It's to bring out the light in the Esav, to reveal the light of Esav. And the truth is, wait a second. The truth is, relax. You gotta relax. The truth is that that Yaakov, that the Esav is within you. You don't have to go find Esav in some kind of mountain. Your own darkness is really what you need to work on. Now you need to also work on everything on the light also. You need to do mitzvahs and blah blah blah. You need to do wonderful things in life. Yeah, it's beautiful. You need to be a good person. But really, what is the entity you need to work on? You need to change your Esav. I need to change my Esav. My Yetzer Hara. Let's try to finish this, and we're never going to finish it. So, rectification, the world of rectification. No, have your cheat sheet. Make your cheat sheet. That's not my problem. You should have your cheat sheet. So the light of Toyu. Let's read. Let us read. The light of Toyu are very great and could not integrate into any vessels. They departed from the vessel and remained transcendent state. They're chaotic, right? So that's why Esav is chaotic. While the vessel shattered and fell below, therefore the terrestrial Esav was wicked. That's how Esav can become wicked. However, in Esav's source, in the transcendence of Toyu, the light of Toyu are higher than the light of Tikkun. You got that? Not over your head. It's very simple. Something that's very high falls extremely very low.
Right.
Okay? So you got that one? Something that's very high falls very low. That there's an Esav in the world, God created Esav like he created Yaakov. He created Esav like he created Yaakov. Now there's certain evils that need to be destroyed. I'm not going to argue. The David says openly. The 7 nations, you got to destroy them. Like Sichel Kol Neshama, you're not going to leave a life. Not only the beings, you don't leave the cattle alive. Right? You got to destroy them. I'm not arguing. The Torah says openly, certain concepts you got to eradicate. We're not saying that. We're not here saying that. Nah. But Esav was a Jew, right? We're not here trying to transform Yishmael. We're not here trying to transform Noach, skilled kids. We're trying to transform the Esav. Because Esav is a Yid.
What?
Esav is a Jew, like Yaakov. They're both Jews.
What?
So Esav is a Jew.
But he's the Roman.
Okay, but I'm talking about the physical Esav that we ultimately, but in Edom, that is the descendants of Esav, right? Edom, Rome, whatever we want to call Esav today, they have transformation qualities, right? They have
You say
transformation.
Esav was a Jew?
Esav was a Jew. Yaakov's a Jew.
I
How
know
is
what
Esav?
we're doing, but this sentence, it is known that Jacob's source is from the world of rectification.
Right.
And Esau's source is from the world of chaos.
Correct.
Okay, so that being said, rectification is lower
Then the world of Te'ah.
than chaos.
Correct.
Wanting to fix the world and make it better. is
No, because the world of
lower.
rectification has, again, it's very simple. The world of rectification has its light and vessel. They fit each other. A world of chaos has a light that cannot fit in the vessel. And it
That's
breaks the
fire.
vessel. It's a
Okay.
light that cannot fit in the vessel.
Okay.
If you have a light, if you take a 220 voltage and you put it through a 110 voltage, you have a blowout.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's-
That's it. So Yaakov is 110 and Esav is 220, and they don't fit together. You very good. Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Because
man.
I'm deciphering these.
Okay,
words.
have your cheat sheet. Your cheat sheet. Next.
That's
So let's continue. Now, to ever continue. Guys, we have to finish this.
Okay.
So text number 7. Our sages say,
Zip through this.
oh, we have to. We have an hour. We got to sit here so we got to take care of turkeys today. What you don't want to have cold turkey. So our sages say the Jewish people were exiled among the nations. Why? To increase converts. This is not to understood literally. Rather, converts in reference to holy sparks that tumbled down from the world of Toyu, that are sublime, that we subliminate by a way of eating and drinking. Really, converts doesn't mean only mamish, taking a non-Jew and becoming a Jew. Converts is your food you eat. You need to convert it. You need to convert it. You need to take the food you eat, that's a physical, the material, and turn it, find that spot. To explain, Jacob's family of 70 persons is opposed by the 70 nations of the world. That's why the Abishter made everything one opposite the other. The 70 nations, the 70 sons of Jacob, which is symbolic to the Jewish nation, right? Jewish people, not 70 people. But Jacob comes down to Egypt with 70 people. And Chassidus said, why they come down with 70 people to Mitzrayim? Because this is the this is one step, this is one face of the other. The Jewish nation that is 70 is the opposite is the 70 nations. Right? 70 against 70. These negative forces stem all the way. So these 70 nations, that is the core is 7, right? The 70 nations, the core 7, come from the world of Toyu. The 8 premortal kings. That's why the question is the 70 nations should be 7, but there was 8. Right? There was 8 kings, the 8 evil kings of actually, right? There were 8 kings of Edom. So right, that shows that's beautiful. So the 70 received from the 8. That's why they're so strong. That's why They're so strong because they receive from something that's above nature.
So the 8 kings were above nature?
Right? Again, Toyu, they're the world of Toyu. They're the world of that don't fit in the vessel.
How do we learn more about?
That's what you're doing. You come to the class. After each one of these kings, come next week again. This is Alter Rebbe's Tanya. This is a teaching of them. We mentioned at the beginning of the class. Go look at that. What we're going about the 8 kings of Esau. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So guys, because I can't. We're never gonna get. Guys, let's go. People, focus over here. We have a whole people on the. Getting too excited. Relax. What about Tikkun? Relax. Calm down, everybody. Maybe make him some food. These people gotta calm down.
No, I heard the relax, so I thought maybe you're looking for security.
Yeah. Right? So Jacob's family is opposing the 70 nations. The negative force is sent from the way all. So these 70 nations, where did they get their force? All the way from the Olam HaToyu. From the 8 premortal kings. After each one of these kings, the verse states, he reigned and he shortly died. Right? Symbolized the idea of shattered vessels. The notion that the 288 sparks scattered in the lower world, they died. They died.
That's why the Jews came down into Egypt.
The foodstuff of this world. No, this never ends. They were still dealing with these. We were still dealing today with these 8 premortal kings. The foodstuff of and where does these and so really this not only Sid is not saying you're dealing with the goy out there, with the nation. You're dealing with food. Because they come into the physical. That's the premortal kings is not only about evil kings. It's about physical world. It's the opposite of holiness. Yeah, food you eat. The turkey you're gonna eat tonight is all why you think you're gonna eat the turkey. Because you have to find the godliness in the turkey. Right? That's why in Hebrew, turkey is called haidu. You have to praise God. It's called a haidu. Yeah. You praise the Eibishter through the turkey. The foodstuff of this world contains energy from a benign sense of evil that is integrated in a form that which it grows. Right? This is very deep stuff. So you have right because food can be used for good and can be used for bad.
So wait, just clarifying. Kosher food.
Just
No.
yes. You're right.
So like if I'm using food because I'm.
You're a gluttonous. You're a glut. That's you. You're abusing the food. You're abusing the food. You're abusing the godliness in the food. Now, when a person takes that food and uses the energy to provide, to pray with focus and intense dedication to God, then having taken a divine spot trapped in the food. I'm reading this out to them, but we don't. And we're taking divine spot trapped in the food and the clutches of the clutches of the evil and redeeming it. Shepherding that spot under the wings of the Shekhinah, of the presence of God. That is the rectification of Olam, the world of chaos. You're chaotic today.
Yay, that's it. Yay.
Wait, we're not finished. We got to get to the Rebbe in a second. Because this is all out there, yeah. So here the Rebbe says, the purpose of Jacob's settlements is not just about him and his family. You're reading the Parsha wrong. Inhabiting the land of Israel. That's not what we're trying to bring out over here. Rather, it's Jacob said to Esau, until I reach my Lord in Seir, until I reach you, until Mashiach comes, we're not over. The story is just in the middle. In other words, the discussion is not just about Jacob taking up residence with your cows and he take up residence. And that's the story. What does this say? A book of bedtime storybook? Rather, it's about the purposes which Jacob must reach. There's Seir. It's about Jacob reaching Seir.
I'm trying to understand this
in so much as Jacob can only get there by interacting and engaging with Esau and his family. It turns out that Jacob's true story is hidden in Esau. That's his true story. If you don't, if you want to know what the story of Jacob is, you need to know the story of Esau. You need to know first Esau. Then you can come to the story of Jacob. No, you have. If you, it's not about having enough Esau. It's about changing the Esau. Until you change it, it's never gonna go away. It will. It no. Oh, Mashiach comes. Yeah, sure. Sure, 100%. Sure, you have an inner Esau. What are you kidding me? And the truth is, let me tell you something. The inner Esau is a lot of things. It's your Avedas, something, your evil. Your inner Esau is your negativity, your personal negativity. And you will always drag it around. In every good deed you do, this inner Esau is going to be there. You need to fix it. 100%. No, you should fix it. You need to challenge it. You need to find the good in it, and you need to elevate it. There's always something good in that. So let's see what the Rebbe says, because now we're coming to the end and how we're going to fix it. Ready? You ready? So here the Rebbe says that the Rashi, that's why Rashi's bothered. How are you going to do that? Rashi gives you an analogy. That's why Rashi is so important, is Rashi. Because Rashi is telling us, Yaakov, Rashi wants to tell you, my friends, you need to be Yaakov. You need to know this journey of Yaakov and Esau. And therefore, I'm going to give you an analogy about a pebble and about a pearl and about sand and pebbles. I'm going to give you this whole analogy because this analogy is important. Ready? In text number 9. So the metaphor speaks of 2 items, sand and pebbles. Why is it important to tell us this whole thing? Why is Rashi? What is Rashi telling us? Sand and pebbles. I need to find the pearl. I got to get rid of the sand. I got to get rid of the pebbles. Oh, why is Rashi telling us that? Because in our quest to conquer Esau, there are 2 methods of conquest and sublimation, represented by sand and pebbles. Sand covers over items. That's sand. As a metaphor, it covers the pearl, right? Sand is covering the pearl. However, it's not inherently negative thing as a constructive use, right? There's covers. We need to uncover things. As I said before, there are certain things that you need to just uncover. You need to just move aside. Light chases away darkness. That's the way it is, right? That's the way the Eibishter made the world. That light diffuses darkness, right? That's like dust, right? You say the example that, you have something engraved, it's covered up, it's covered by sand. Move away the sand and you'll reveal what is there. Okay, so it's not a big deal. By contrast, pebbles don't just obstruct things, they are downright harmful with little productive use. So they must be discarded. That's the so there's certain things that you need to just reveal light. And there's certain things you need to get down and either develop it, change it, get rid of it, whatever it might have to do. Certain things need to be destroyed. Certain things need to be changed, whatever it might be. This is instructive task in exile. In context of our job to redeem the divine spark, sand and pebbles indicate 2 methods. Pearls are the metaphor of the divine spark that has fallen in the sand and the pebbles of this material world. So that's the 2 challenges. That's the 2 journeys. Yaakov, what Rashi wants to tell you is, my friends, this journey continues. I'm going to give you an analogy of how to do it yourself, because me, Zalman Bucket, has within him a spark of godliness, but he has also within him sand and pebbles. He has within him certain things that he can just, the more he reveals his good things, the sand will go away. And then he has certain things that are deep problems.
And they have to be discarded.
And some of them have to be discarded. Some of them have to be crushed. Some of them have to be smashed. Some of them have to be changed. Sand is a metaphor for material things that is only obstruct a divine spark. A Jew can redeem these sparks by engaging with the matter. So think good. Pebbles are a metaphor of utterly evil things that with clutches of a holy spark cannot be extracted with conventional methods. Instead, these items must be discarded. So like the Alter Rebbe says, negativity, depression needs to be discarded.
Rabbi? Rabbi?
Good psychiatry. We don't always know how to do those things.
Let me see if I have a bottle of mushroom.
Rabbi?
How? I'll give you the simple answer. Humility. Humility. Meaning,
What, that you know you can
stop.
do it and you need to-
Right.
Yeah.
Humility.
I know that.
Basic humility.
Still need to-
No, you don't. You don't. Once you have humility. You know, last night we had a speak here that, I mean, what a way to live life in challenges of life. It's just mind-boggling, right? If I can have that amuna, 10% of that, I would be pretty good. Okay? If I can have 10% of that kind of amuna, giving yourself over totally, without any fear, without any question, without any challenge. Whatever. That's Yad Hashem, and that's it. You're in the hands of God, and the rest is not important. It's bittul. It's total bittul. It's about humility. It's total humility. Well, that costs $59. That's $59.99. That costs you $59.99. Yes. What was your question over there? No. Okay.
This is Helen. Hi. What I see this is from a very psychological perspective that we as a soul coming down to earth or the world, whatever, the physical world, the purpose is to really get to know who we are so that we can evolve back to the soul's purpose. Because as a human, we have defects. As a soul, we don't.
Very good. I like it. I like that. Very good. Shkoyach.
Thank you.
But we need to deal with the human defects, because by pushing it away, we're never going to deal with the human defects. So
that's what I'm saying, because a lot of people in general have a very hard time going deeper into who they are, because it's frightening. We don't want to know that there's certain parts of us that.
Right. Well, that's why Yaakov didn't want to go to the Esav. It was frightening. He says it openly. It's frightening. So he's not ready. But it's not going to help. Mashiach's not going to come until we're going to go to the Esav, until we rectify the Esav, until we do that. And that starts off with each person, because each person is a cosmos of the whole world. So each one of us needs to do it in ourselves. Let's go further. Okay. So the Rebbe continues, and it brings. We had the class continue. I'm sorry, and brings the Medrash. The Medrash says in text number 10 on page number 128. Medrash, why are the Edomites compared to a pig? Just as the pig crouches and shows off its hooves to claim I am kosher, so the Edomites' kingdom plunder and steal and boast that they are governing, right? That they're governing, right? The kings, right? They kill everybody, but they're trying to keep, Stories told about a certain governor who would kill, thief, adulteress, sorcerer. He bent over to his minister, says, "I've done all three in one night," right? So he was trying to be the justice, and meanwhile he turns to one of the guys and says, "I've done everything what these people do, and I'm judging them. I'm judging them. I'm the judge of them." So that's the Edomites. They show one thing, that the grace is tzaddikim, but meanwhile, the justice, for peace for all. But meanwhile, they're robbing everybody, they're plundering everybody, they're doing whatever they want. No politics, no politics here. But you know what the beauty of the Medrash says, that the Edomites are a chazir. They're a pig. The pigs, the Edomites. Why did the Medrash say a chazir? Why did the Edomites like a lion? No, because asid chazir litor. Because the chazir will one day become kosher.
Yay,
Kosher,
yay.
right? That's why it's called a chazir. Chazir is called in Hebrew a pig, because the chazir, it comes from the word chayzer, to return.
Oh, to return.
To return. So I always tell people, don't worry, you'll one day have bacon and eggs. One day, in Mashiach comes, you'll have bacon and eggs, Be'ezat Hashem.
Why?
Because the chazir is going to return.
Why?
Because that shows that there's a rectification even in the chazir. So we make a big deal about chazir. Like people say, I wouldn't eat the pig, that's like their ultimate like sin in the world, right? Oh, they'll eat milk and meat together, but you won't catch me dead eating pig. But why? Because chazir, which is a symbolism of, so to say, of non-kosher, happens to be something that the milk and meat will always be prohibited. Even Mashiach comes. But for that reason, the chazir will return, so to say. Chazir will return. Whatever that means, there's a machlekes in that itself, whatever. There's a machlekes in that itself. Will chazir return or not, whatever. What is the meaning of everything in Torah has its place. So even a statement of the sage that the chazir will return. So what is the meaning? That the truth is that Esav was compared to a chazir because ultimately Esav needs to change. Esav needs to change. Esav needs to rectify itself. So we can't just write off the Esav. We can't just write. We're not here to write off the Esav, right? We're here to find a capability, which that was a beautiful class of anti-Semitism, that we can't write off people. They'll say, "Oh, they're evil." They're evil. Yes, some people maybe are evil. Some people are totally evil. But not everybody's evil because he said it's something negative. Because he said an anti-Semitic statement, and suddenly they become evil. We label people. The Rebbe was not for that, for labeling people, because even the people that have done bad and said things bad, you can't just write off people.
No one's
And you can't write off Jews, and you can't write off non-Jews. You just can't write off people.
No one's 100% one way.
Right, correct. And therefore, you have to figure out a way to bring people around. You have to figure out a way. If you label them, then they'll never come around. They'll never be rectified. But if you don't label them, you give them, try to figure out an opportunity, a situation where they can reveal their good. Maybe they would ultimately, their own good will ultimately win out and chase away their own evil. And that's important. That's important not only, again, in our own life with other Jews and with ourselves, even ourselves. We know we have evil and we have things that are not so good. So we need to, if you can accentuate, say, "Oh, that's the way I am. I'm just evil. Take me the way I am." Then I'll never become a better person. I need to be able to talk to that evil and try to tell him that he's really good, or maybe it's just not a good situation that we're doing this thing, etc. So,
Rabbi Bucket, without the evil, we wouldn't have free choice.
okay, that's you know what, but then you're basically giving justification for evil. We'll always need evil. We don't need that. We don't need evil. We need to get rid of evil. That's the ultimate journey. Trust me. In good, there's always greater good. So therefore, you should always go higher in good. And yesterday's good shouldn't say yesterday's good should impress on you to actually go better because it was not enough. So today's good should be better. So we need to get rid of evil. There's no question. We need to change evil. What?
Is evil analogous with negativity?
Yeah.
That was how you could.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it. Yeah, see, this Torah is surely not talking about evil when somebody kills somebody. A negative, evil thought, Machshavas Zaris, is the evil thought is evil. An empty thought is evil. Everything that's the opposite of godliness is evil.
I hate that word.
I agree. I agree. But we try to use words that are, shock. That's why shock and awe. Really, it's what's holy and what's unholy. To God and the opposite of God.
Yeah, that's
So the root of Ra could be the root is Olam Hatayah, the root of Ra. Olam Hatayah, the world of chaos. Let's continue. We're almost done, I believe, right? We're almost, thank God, the last statement. Text number 12. And that's why it says, ultimately, Avadia, the prophet says, that the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph as a flame, and the house of Esau shall be stubble, and they shall ignite them and consume them. In the house of Esau there will be no survivors, and God has spoken. That's it.
wow.
That's it. So then you have two concepts in Esau, self-understood. There's evil and there's evil. Certain things will be transformed, and certain things will be destroyed. Self-understood.
Stubble is pebbles?
No,
Yeah,
stubble
sand and pebbles.
no stubble is cash, is hay, grass, flasks, or whatever. So that's the old what? So self-understood. There's Ra and there's Ra. There's certain Ra that needs to be eradicated, right? So if somebody murders somebody, God forbid, Torah says you cannot do tshuva on that. You did the ultimate of negative. You need to be taken away from him. Because it's, how do you bring back a life? You don't kill a person if he steals. You don't kill a person if he does majority of Avedas. But if a person murders somebody, you need to you're not killing the person because he killed somebody. That's not gain. That's no gain, killing two people. No, you've done an evil thing that cannot be rectified, and you need to take away that Ra from this world. That's the reason why you have to put somebody to death or murder somebody. So there's two Ras. So that's why the pebble and there's the sand. There is the ultimate concept of where evil needs to be eradicated, and there's evil that could be rectified. Actually, and as I think this class doesn't go into what I said before per se, that the concept of the challenge is good. That's not the point of this class. The point is the Esau needs to over here is not talking about challenges. He's talking about the concept of evil. So there's certain evil that need to be eradicated. There's certain evils that need to be. So in essence, the Rebbe says from the Rashi, for the first Rashi in the Pasuk, in this week's Parsha, you have the purpose of what you are doing in this world. Because Mashiach has not come yet. And we need Mashiach to come.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And Rashi is telling you, my friends, that you need to get to work and start getting rid of the sand and getting rid of the pebbles. And the faster we're going to get rid of the sand and get rid of the pebbles in our life and reveal the pearl, the faster we're going to bring what Yaakov Avinu told Esav, that the journey of Am Yisrael is not going to end until we're going to get rid. We're going to either move away your sand or reveal your pebbles or break your pebbles and bring out the pearl that is even within you. We're going to bring out the pearl and we're going to change you yourself and bring Mashiach to the world. And that's the whole concept of Rashi. God bless you. It took me an hour and a half to do this. We can. This is a very deep class, and we can go much deeper, more deeper into this. But we will have to end it